It's time now for Mental Health Matters with your host, Lisa Rymer. Mental Health Matters is graciously underwritten by New Vision Eye Center, world-class eye care on the Treasure Coast. New Horizons thanks Dr. Paul Minotti, Dr. Stephen Tate, Dr. Robert Reinauer, and Dr. David O'Brien. Now, here's Lisa Rymer.
Mental health matters. Yes, emotional well-being is vitally important, but it's more than just that. Mental health issues can impact a person's physical health, they can influence their behavior, and even dictate the course of a person's entire life. Hi, I'm Lisa Rymer, and I'm the host of Mental Health Matters and a communications officer at New Horizons of the Treasure Coast in Okeechobee. If you haven't heard of New Horizons, we are the most comprehensive mental health and substance use recovery agency in this region with 9 offices across 4 counties, and we serve 14,000 children and adults annually, regardless of their ability to pay. In fact, almost 56% of our clients have no source of income or insurance, and yet no one is turned away due to lack of financial resources. We'll talk about how we do that today with John Romano in the studio, the CEO of New Horizons, who after 30 years is retiring on December 31st. Thank you for being here, John.
Thank you, Lisa.
So this is part 2 of a 2-part interview. We talked a little bit in the first part, which is on our Facebook page at New Horizons Mental Health. We spoke about where we were, what it was like back in the day. We were established in 1958, sort of what were the options for people back then, what New Horizons was doing as we evolved, and where we are today with the 9 offices. So let's just go through sort of what the services that we do provide, because some of them are very, very progressive.
Okay. Sure. Let's start at the Midway Road campus.
Which is our main campus.
Our main campus.
And tell people how many beds we have on that, inpatient beds.
Sure. We have 30 adult crisis stabilization unit beds for adults. We have 20 beds for children. And
for crisis stabilization.
Crisis stabilization for mental health and substance use.
Mm-hmm.
We're licensed for mental health and substance use there as well. We have a 12, soon to be 20 bed detox unit there, where people that are suffering from overdoses of substances or whatever can come in and get good treatment for 3 or 4 days. We also have a program called Independence Recovery, which is a program where it's a 30-day program where people that are, again, suffering from substance use issues get treatment.
Rehab, in residential rehab.
Yeah, bottom line, residential rehab, yeah. So we've got those services. We also have a 24/7 screening unit where people can come either voluntarily or involuntarily if they're Baker acted or they're Marchman acted for help. And anybody can walk in, knock on the door and say they need help, and we'll see them.
Or they can call 24/7.
They can call 24/7. They can come by, depending on what's going on. Every circumstance is a little bit different. We may be able to refer them to an outpatient office for services. But if it's a true emergency, then they would come in. Either family would bring them in, law enforcement would bring them in. They'd be referred from the hospital, but we never turn anybody away.
We also have Mobile Crisis.
Mobile Crisis is another program that we have where we would respond. Again, this is a 24/7, 365 program where we would respond to anybody's home, office, school. We often respond to schools during the day. If a child is in crisis and the school counselor feels that they would benefit from, a mental health counselor, then, we would send somebody right to the school or the home or whatever.
We are the only facility on the Treasure Coast that provides that mobile crisis.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's absolutely free, and there's no time limits. It's really an exceptional program.
Yes, I mean, a counselor will go out and do an assessment on site, and if they feel that the child or the adult needs to, be screened, or Baker acted or Marchman acted, then they'll come back to Midway Road for the assessment.
And so, and we're talking about just the programs on our main campus, which is a 33-acre campus on Midway Road in Fort Pierce. We also have outpatient. And why don't you tell them about MAT, which is pretty new?
Yeah, MAT is medication assisted treatment. That is for substance users. I think most everyone has heard of the opioid crisis that our country is facing and our state is facing. There were some extra dollars that were appropriated by the legislature for that program, and we treat people there. A lot of times they'll prescribe. We have doctors, 2 doctors actually, that help run the program, and they'll prescribe Suboxone or Vivitrol to help them with their opioid situation.
Now, this is a real departure. I mean, for the last, half century or so, people have sort of prescribed abstinence only for drug addicts, right? And now we are working on this principle of harm reduction. Yeah,
absolutely. Unfortunately, suicide rates have risen partly because of the opioid crisis. And it really is a crisis. That's not just something that, the media is making up. People are dying almost every day from overdoses. And the state, to their credit, our state has responded accordingly for help for those folks.
So we're doing the Narcan also. That's one of the things that the MAT program does. Just maybe talk a little bit about that distribution.
Yeah, well, law enforcement also does that as well, where like if someone is overdosed and they're passed out, they can do the Narcan and basically bring them back and then get them in for further treatment.
But we're actually providing training and giving free Narcan to people who may live with an active addict
Absolutely.
Or be an active addict themselves or know addicts, so that they have that remedy.
Yes, absolutely. We do training on that. We've also started an opioid task force in the area, in the Fort County area. And we started that about 2 years ago now. And we bring in all of the provider agencies, law enforcement, and, we talk about ways to help folks that are experiencing these types of problems. And Dr. Dreher heads up the opioid task force for New Horizons, but it's really a community thing. It's not a New Horizons program per se.
But one of the things that I find very interesting about the task force is that they try to educate people about not just how to get clean from opioids, but also to educate people about childhood trauma and how that impacts a person's behavior that would stick a needle or ingest opioids, however they're doing that, that there's a connection between childhood trauma and addiction, and it's not necessarily a moral deficiency. It's woundedness.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of you go back to somebody's childhood who's a drug user, and you will find, for the most part, a very dysfunctional family. The parents could have been drug abusers themselves or alcohol abusers, and it's just a sad situation where the child has to grow up in that environment, and then they start using because they see their parents doing it, and,
or they were just abused or neglected in other ways, and then
that
they found
be too. Absolutely, yeah.
Substances sort of ease the pain.
Bullied.
Self-medicating.
There's all kinds of reasons. Sexual abuse, physical abuse, all those things kind of tie into why somebody goes down that road.
So tell us about telepsychiatry.
Well, telepsychiatry is something that it's not really new per se, but it's much needed, especially in our state, because there's such a shortage of psychiatrists.
Across the country, actually, isn't it?
Actually, it is across the country, but Florida seems to seems to really, in my opinion, is one of the worst states for trying to recruit psychiatrists or psychiatric nurse practitioners. So telepsychiatry, we contract with the doctor now for telepsych services. She happens to live in Iowa, so, we hook her up to our computer system, and she has...
Like a Skype?
Yeah, basically like a Skype or a FaceTime, however what people are saying nowadays. And, we'll have the client in the room. Most of the time there will be a case manager with them or someone from the office.
So it's in our office, not at their home?
No, it's in our office, not in their home right now. And then the doctor comes on the screen and talks to the client, and, just like they would if they were sitting in an office at New Horizons on Midway Road or 709 South 5th Street or wherever we have our outpatient offices. So that's kind of the trend right now because, again, of the shortage of psychiatrists. You have to go out and, and do the best you can, and sometimes telepsych is the way to go. You can even do telepsych on an inpatient basis as well. As a matter of fact, we're trying to find someone right now that could do telepsych services on our Children's Crisis Stabilization Unit.
Yeah, I was going to say, because, for an older person, I don't know if that would be, just the bonding in a relationship, which is so important with a therapist. But for younger people who grew up with computers, and is it really something for younger people?
Not really. I understand what you're saying. The kids today, the adolescents today, are certainly more, techie than people my age or a little bit younger. But to my surprise, I've found even folks, 40s, 50s, 60s, they've adapted pretty well. It's not for everybody, because some people like that one-on-one, with the doctor in person, not on the screen. But for the most part, it's been very successful, and clients seem to like it. So, we'll keep on doing it as long as, that we have to, and the clients are adjusting pretty well.
Right. And so they get the services they need.
Yeah, they get the services they need, because if it wasn't for telepsych, they'd have to wait, a longer period of time for those types of services.
Okay. So we're going to take a short break. We're talking with John B. Romano, CEO of New Horizons. And when we get back, we will be speaking about a vision for a better future.
Hi, this is Jennifer Toby from Treasure Coast Compassionate Care, serving all of the Treasure and Gulf Coast. We provide a wide array of services, including driving our clients to their physician, shopping, cleaning, making beds, reminding clients to take their medication, providing hygiene assistance, personal laundry and bed linens, preparing and serving meals, providing respite care for caregivers, helping with correspondence, providing socialization, friendship, and support, going on walks, and encouraging and participating in stimulating activities. So call us today for an in-home assessment at 772-226-7072. 772-226-7072, or visit us at treasurecoastcompassionatecare.com.
At Outback Steakhouse in Vero Beach, we live by Aussie rules. And Aussie rule number 51 is to enjoy steak anywhere. Now, you can enjoy mouth-watering steaks like Victoria's Filet Mignon, our most tender thick-cut steak, at home with Outback's delivery service. You can spend more time enjoying the food you love with the people you love and less time preparing it. Call or order the bold flavor of Outback Steakhouse online at Outback.com, and we'll deliver them right to your door. Aussie rules.
White Club Moving and Storage. Dependability movers. White Club Moving and Storage. We keep Florida moving. We keep Florida moving.
Proud
proud to be the only Better Business Bureau Torch Award-winning moving company. We provide peace of mind every time when it comes to moving your prized possessions across the street or across the country. With nearly 20 years in the business, we have confidence in our pricing, offering bound rates for packing, moving, and storage to flat hourly rates for help with just the heavy lifting. Count on White Glove Moving to make your move easy and affordable with certification in senior, piano, office, and residential moving as a pro mover. Visit us online at whitegloveusa.com.
Eight six six Glove 10.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. I'm Lisa Rymer. If you're just joining us, we're in the studio today with John B. Romano, who is our CEO at New Horizons, retiring on December 31st. If you haven't heard the first half of this program, you can hear it on our Facebook page, New Horizons Mental Health. We post all of our interviews there. And John, we've been speaking about what New Horizons is doing now, and we're going to now speak about what is the vision for the future. So let's start with HIPAA, because we'll explain to our listeners what HIPAA is.
Well, HIPAA is basically a confidentiality law that information, healthcare information, can't be shared. This goes beyond mental health. It's all health related in the health related industry, and unless you give permission for even your wife or your husband or your aunt or whoever you want to release information to, it has to be written, and you have to approve it before it can be shared.
And what are the good points and bad points of this law?
The good points is you're protecting people's privacy. As far as the not so good points, it's difficult to share healthcare information with someone like another physician who may need it. There needs to be more advances in communication technology, secure communication technology. I think that's kind of, in my view, that's going to be one of the waves of the future. And some laws are going to have to change so doctors and other healthcare professionals can communicate with each other securely. A lot of systems today, you can't communicate with them because everybody has different systems. And I'm not a real techie person, but I know enough to know that some of the systems can't talk to one another. Even if they could, you have to have a release from the client to share any healthcare information, be it mental health or any other type of healthcare related. So it's difficult to share, and it's really in the best interest of the client if you can share information, because something can happen 2 years ago. There could be a certain medication that this client can't take or shouldn't take, and they may not be able to articulate that to the provider where they happen to be, whether it's in a Baker Act receiving facility or in an emergency room. And this way you can access that healthcare record.
So unless they sign a waiver and tell you about it, a patient then...
Yeah, and
right.
You can't always do that, especially in a mental health agency, because a lot of people that come in to a crisis unit for Baker Act, they're too psychotic to really sit down and talk about
your records from the past.
3 years ago I was admitted to Martin Memorial Hospital for this or for that, and it's just difficult. But I think if we can find some, once they get stabilized, some secure way to do that, improve those communication technologies, then things will be a lot better.
Explain the improvement again, what you see.
Well, the different systems are going to have to talk to each other. So, for example, if someone comes into New Horizons and they were admitted to a crisis unit up in Massachusetts, a year ago or 2 months ago or whatever, that, if we knew that, once we, plug in the name of the client and, some information would come up, or else the client can tell us if he or she is able to do that, if they're not too psychotic, that, they were in a mental health facility in Massachusetts or Colorado or wherever, that we could access those records to see what they were there for, what kind of medication was prescribed back then. If we could just improve that communication process, it would benefit the client.
Yeah, I think that we must be very close because the pharmacies are doing that now. Now with, all of the opioids, and if I tell my doctor that I'm on, a antibiotic, or I take, this supplement or something, I go to a different doctor and he has a list of the medications I'm taking because if it's, out of Walgreens or,
But Lisa, you're not psychotic. And there's a big difference there. I mean, you can go in, or I can go in and talk to our pharmacist and tell them what kind of meds we're on and communicate effectively. Most of the time, a client of ours can't do that because of especially in an emergency situation, about what's going on. So it's a lot more difficult.
So what else do you see as a vision of a brighter, healthier future for our community?
Well, I think telepsych, which we've talked about a little bit before, is another way to go because of the shortage of psychiatrists in Florida and across the country as well. We could do more of that, improve technologies. I mean, they're pretty good right now, but I see that, us doing more and more, telepsych type services, especially when you can't recruit a psychiatrist to come live in your community and get involved in the community. I mean, that would be the ideal situation where, you could hire someone that wants to be, part and parcel of the community and get engaged in the community and work, hand in glove with, the movers and shakers in the community.
So we, as you said earlier, are 49th in the nation in mental health funding, and we fluctuate between 49th and 50th.
Yes.
And so, what do you see as a better source of revenue for mental health to underwrite the cost?
Well, Medicaid expansion has, unfortunately, our state did not accept Medicaid expansion, a couple of years back. And, that's another source of revenue for the mentally ill and others as well, other healthcare services as well. That would be great if our state would accept it, from the federal government. That money's still out there. But, there's always political reasons why people don't want to do that. It just gets to be a political football, and there's some states that have accepted the Medicaid expansion dollars and serve their constituents well.
We have a little bit over a minute left. Is this going to just continue on? People are going to have childhood trauma. They're going to manifest symptoms as adolescents. They're going to become mentally ill. Is there any cure all? Is there any way to actually change that trajectory? Early
prevention and is a way to go. Early intervention and prevention is a way to go with that. The sooner you can, professionals can figure out that, a 5-year-old has a problem or a 6-year-old or whatever, and start that process, then the better off everybody's going to be in the future. Okay, so thank you, John Romano. I do want to just close up with, we provide wraparound, which is an intensive case management for children. We also have the Children's Community Action Team, which is a very, very intensive case management, providing therapists in the house, going into the schools. I mean, this is really wonderful stuff. So thank you so much for everything that you've done for this community in these 30 years. We will miss you incredibly.
If you want to learn more about New Horizons, visit us at www.nhtcinc.org or call us 772-468-5600.